All right, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. We're coming at you from the 2014 Woodstock Fruit Festival. We're all having a blast here. This is a 2-week event this year, and they're gonna do it again another 2 weeks in 2015. And definitely wanna see you here. It's definitely been a great time. And we have some downtime right here. So I got two of my friends, some of my good friends here. Kristina Carrillo-Bucaram, Fully Raw, check her out on YouTube. And of course, everybody knows DTM, Dan the Man McDonald, Life Regenerator on YouTube. Man, he connects with so many of you guys out there. And the reason why I have him in this video today is to talk about a very important subject that can be controversial, you know, in some people's opinion. It's simply juicing. You know, juicing was my introduction into raw foods, and this is my first step in the door, and I believe it can be a step for many people's to get them to eat more fruits and vegetables. And to me, that's what the raw foods diet is about. So Kristina, what are your quick comments on juicing real quick?
I love juicing. I think juicing is absolutely important. I think that there are times to juice, and then maybe perhaps there aren't times to juice, but I think that it is so important. I mean, just breaking the surface of what juicing is extracting the fiber from the produce, and what you're left with is basically a highly nutritious, very dense, tasty, delicious liquid, and it's like a drink, right? So instead of drinking Pepsis and Cokes and processed whatever, you're drinking nature's goodness. And I find that juices are a very important way to introduce people into this lifestyle because they taste good, they're easy to incorporate even if you're not fully raw, or if you're not vegan, they're easy to drink and to enjoy, they're easy to share, and they make you feel good, right?
Dan, what are your thoughts on juicing?
Well, I think anybody who knows me knows that I'm a big proponent of juicing. I've been juicing for a couple years even before I found raw foods. I think that kind of woke me up. And then when I used to drink the juice and go to the gym, I'd be like, wow, you know, my workouts would be twice as good, twice as long, and recovery time would be twice as fast. And then I was introduced to raw foods, and so I've been juicing for maybe every day for 17 years. Oh. And so it's pretty much just fuel for the blood. And you know, it's a great way for people that are experiencing disease conditions to really see some results fast, because there's excesses, as you know, the excesses of the junk processed sad foods, and then there's the deficiencies. And one of the ways that you can shore that up and come to harmony very rapidly is through the consumption of the living water, the living minerals, and the vitamins in the fresh fruit and vegetable juices. So you displace one meal of junk, and you bring in all that hydration, all that mineralization, chlorophyll, and neutralize a lot of acidity in the body.
Definitely agree. So with that, actually I have questions that we're gonna ask each of them and also get my opinions on, because some people like juicing and some people hate it, and these questions are probably questions you might actually want to ask each of us. So the first question is, do you feel juicing has a place in a raw vegan diet?
Absolutely. That's a one-worded answer. I absolutely do. I mean, I love to drink juice in the mornings because it's hydrating and because it's delicious, and it really gets me going throughout the day. And there are times where sometimes I'll drink juice all day and I'll still feel really great, and I'll feel light, and I'll feel clean, and I'll feel like I'm not only cleansing my body but also cleansing my body and my mind and my spirit. So
what do you say, Dan?
I think that the juicing has a place in the human diet. Anybody, anywhere, every time. So I just say, even if I'll never go raw vegan, fine. I don't care if you give up your steaks, but you should have a glass of fresh vegetable juice every day to, you know, saturate your body. And you know, I think the juicing is, I can't imagine anybody hating the juicing, but it's especially useful in today's world with an overload of stress, which burns up the minerals, and an excess of acid forming foods, you know. So it's like medicine, and I don't know how anyone would want to go without it in this modern world. You take the fiber out, and that saves you a lot of energy on digestion, and it just absorbs, which is a major issue, is absorption. So with juicing, it's just therapeutic. You know, you got the juicing, which is therapeutic, you got the smoothies, which is convenient and economical, But there's just so much need for the therapy these day and age that I will continue to promote it in a major way. Get a juicer. I said there's no such thing as a bad juicer except the one sitting on your counter or up on the shelf gathering dust. So get it out and use it every day.
Wow. I mean, I would also agree with Kristina and Dan that I think it's definitely important in a raw foods diet, and just, like Dan said, everybody's diet, to get more fruits and vegetables in you. Some people might say, oh, but it doesn't have the fiber, man, and that's not natural. Well, look around us. We don't live in a natural world. There's computers, there's airplanes, there's cell phones, there's all these environmental toxins that are hitting us. So I think, juicing kind of gives you that extra boost, like Dan said, of nutrition that can be so beneficial. All right, so the next question is actually just that. Many people say juicing is not a whole food, so it shouldn't be consumed. How do you respond to this?
A smoothie really isn't a natural form of drinking. I mean, you're blending it up in a machine as well, but people still drink that. I think that juicing is really light on digestion. And if you are feeling tired, if you feel like you just need something to drink and you need an energy boost, it's light enough to not weigh you down so that you feel like you can still have more energy, but yet it's also very cleansing. So like maybe perhaps you want to do a juice feast. And I know we've all done juice feasts for that matter, and I think we've all finished them feeling amazing because our body is doing so much less work. It's cleansing on so many different levels. It's clearing out the junk. And I think juicing can be such a blessing, right?
Amen.
Just on the simplest of levels, it is like such a blessing, right? Because I mean, otherwise we'd have to like fast on water, which is fun, but you can't always live your life and we can't always do that. So sometimes drinking juice for a few days can be like pressing the reset on a computer, right? Like some days your body just needs a break, but you still need like good nutrition to kind of just flow through your body. It's almost like a blood transfusion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
What do you say, Dan?
Well, monkeys juice. They'll chew on the fruit and spit out the pulp. Elephants will chew on the pulp and chew on the fruit and spit out the pulp. It happens all throughout nature. And so I think it's, again, like you were saying, look around us. I mean, if we were chilling, breathing, laying under the sun and with the fresh air, there wouldn't be that stress. So there wouldn't need that need for those antioxidants and the chlorophyll. The green juice is like a medicine for the modern world. So we're, in a sense, they're right. I mean, there are no juicers in nature, but your teeth, I think you've said this before, are actually a juicer. You're extracting. And so it's just a way of taking our modern technology and using it to your benefit, just like we do with everything else, the computers and the cameras. And if we didn't have the camera, we couldn't help you. So we take the juicer and we pull the liquid life force out of there, and we just saturate and hydrate, because it's the fluids in the body that allow the cells to respirate and repair themselves at a much higher level. When the fluids get stagnant with acids, everything slows down and you get sluggish. Drink the juice, flush the fluids, the blood and the lymph, and watch your cells come back to life.
I mean, I would totally agree. Juicing is definitely not a whole food, and I also recommend eating a whole foods diet of real foods as found in nature. Now, I think, in this day and age, especially after people eating years and years and years of the wrong foods, many people, from what I've seen, have compromised digestive systems, and they're not digesting, especially if they're not chewing it, their food into a mush. So this is where I think juicing can become quite beneficial. Also, once again, we want to look at the processing. Cooked foods is processed foods, dehydrated foods is processed foods, blending food is processing your food. I always want to encourage you guys to do the least amount of processing, and in my opinion, juicing is a good way to enhance the body's uptake and absorption. And yes, while it's not super natural, show me something that's living in a natural world these days on a whole foods diet exclusively. Like, I don't know, I think just juicing just gives me the extra boost I need, and I believe it can also help you like it has helped many of the people that I've heard from. So the next question is, this is a good one. Do you get enough nutrition, calories, protein, etc. when juicing?
I believe so. I mean, there are days where I first want to say that on any given day, I think that it is absolutely necessary to get into patterns where eating as many raw fruits and vegetables becomes the norm for yourself, right? You never want to replace eating with juicing, because you cannot live off of juice alone for a very extended period of time. You can go for 90 days, but like you couldn't go 2 years on just juice. So it is important that you do eat. But there are days where I've gotten more than enough calories, like sometimes 3,000 calories worth of juice in a day. And I think that you're actually getting more nutrition through juice than you would be if you were eating the standard American diet by far. And sometimes even more raw foods, because like, let's just say a glass of green juice, I can maybe juice like 5 heads of kale, a cucumber, and some lemon. I may not be eating 5 heads of kale, for dinner that night, but that would just be 1 glass. And so let's just say my next glass is another, whole batch of vegetables. So you're actually getting in this really nutrient dense amount of like juice and so yeah, the answer is yes.
What do you say, Dan?
What's the question?
The question is, do you get enough nutrients, calories, protein, etc. when juicing?
I think you get more, and the cleaner that you are, the more absorption you'll have, the less you'll need to eat. I think a lot of people, they eat and eat and eat and eat, but they have so much mucus in their GI tract from the artificial foods of civilization that they don't absorb, and they just, it's macaroni and cheese or pancakes or rice and all that stuff. You're packed full and you're still hungry. But the nutrition that you really need is in the juices, and it's absorbed at a lot higher rate, which is the vitamins and the minerals. And that's what shuts off the apostat in the brain, is when the glands have the nutrition that they need to function. They feel that intuitively. And so the cleaner you are, the more you'll absorb from the juices, and then the more energy you'll actually get from the sunlight, from the air, because the glands are functioning at a high level. And the other thing too is the importance of the keeping the sinuses clean. One of the issues in today's modern world is the fact that the air is so filthy, and so the sinuses get so clogged up, and those glands in the brain that actually help you to stay happy kind of go dormant with that acid ash. And one of the things that's very beneficial about juicing, especially the citrus fruits or grapes or watermelons, but mostly the citrus fruits, I think have those acids in them that can help dissolve and neutralize the acid waste that gets accumulated all throughout the body. So I love juice fasting. There's a lady, one of Dr. Morse's clients, that juice fasted for over a year and still continues to benefit. I haven't heard about her in a few months, so I don't know what she's up to, but there's a lot more going on. And I think the vast majority of human beings overeat, and once you get clean and start absorbing more from the juices, you'll see that you can actually have, my average day is a maybe 64 ounces of juice, 2 32-ounce jars of juice, and a medium salad. I'm pretty thin, moderate activity level, but I'm working on keeping that energy flow there and working on creating a better mind state. So instead of all the energy going into my stomach all the time, digesting a lot of fiber, I drink the OJ or the cucumber juice, and that feeds my brain. And then I can do the work that's kind of at the next level beyond, like not so much physical fitness, but more mental fitness is the stage I'm in. And I think I'm going to be able to help a lot of people to start creating more happiness, more happy thoughts, by having more mental energy to focus on the things they're saying and focus on what they're doing that's keeping them from being happier and healthier and making good choices so that they can live a fulfilling life. So juicing equals happiness and fulfillment.
Well, I definitely agree that you can get enough nutrition when juicing, if done properly, right? If you drink like 8 ounces of juice, you're definitely not going to meet your caloric needs. I'm going to ask Kristina and Dan next, like how much juice is a serving for them, because I'm sure we all drink fairly high, massive quantities of juice. And, we're not just drinking 8 ounces or 10 ounces, which many of you guys may start out with. Mm-hmm. We're drinking a lot more. And once again, with the nutrition, like Kristina said, guaranteed that you're going to definitely get more nutrients, phytochemicals, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, and juice than a standard American diet. Although in a standard American diet, you will probably get more calories than juice, with few exceptions. If you're juicing all fruits and slamming down a lot of fruit juice, which we'll actually have another question on, which I generally recommend juicing, the vegetables, and juice some fruits sometimes. And once again, we're talking about fresh juices, not canned, bottled, or processed juices that you'd buy in the store. Those are much different than, enzyme-rich, nutrient-dense juices that you make in your own home with the juice extractor. Oh, so let's talk about how many, what's the standard serving size for you, Kristina, when you're drinking some juice?
34 to 64 ounces.
Nice.
And how about you, Dan?
Champ. Same thing. 32 ounces at least for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some smaller people. When you're dealing with somebody, on my DVDs, I discuss, if you're like 100 to 120 pounds and you don't have a huge appetite and you're not an athlete and you're just like a little lady or little gentleman going to the computer, 32 ounces might be a bit much, so I say 24 at least. Because if you don't drink at least 24, you're going to be hungry 30 minutes to an hour later. And it's not realistic to do that. It's not good for your digestion. It's not necessarily good for your teeth either. So I like to drink enough. And so it's at least 32 for the average person. That generally fills them up, energizes them, and will hold them for 2 to 3 hours. For me, usually I do drink about 64 ounces. Orange juice is my number one juice. It's just liquid sunlight. I also love cucumber juice, and I can drink 32 to 64 ounces of that, and I'll make a lot of different green juices too. But I recommend just filling up, really getting nice and full on juice, and then that'll hold you for 3 or 4 hours, and then you can have your another fruit snack or a nice salad.
I mean, I would definitely concur. Everybody's answering the same question.
Disagree, dude? Come on, let's fight.
I drink also 32 to 64 ounces, and it depends. I don't just drink that because I'm drinking that. Oh, I got to drink 32 ounces because Dan does, or Kristina does, or John does. No. I like to check in with my body and see where I'm at. Generally, for the most part, I only eat when I'm hungry. Like if I'm making a juice, it's because I need my next meal, I'm hungry, and I'm ready to drink 32 to 64 ounces, and sometimes I don't know how much I'm gonna want, so I just make a bunch, and if I have extra, I'll store it in the fridge instead of like, oh, you only got like 12 extra ounces, man, just drink the rest, but you're already full and you're already satiated, and you don't need to drink anymore, and it's not gonna be a benefit to you, even drinking something that's really good for you, overeating something. So I'll generally make from 32 to 64, depending on if I'm doing a fruit or vegetable juice. And then generally I like to fill up this nice beer pitcher, which is about 56 ounces. And I find that if I fill that up and drink it, I'm usually pretty good, and that is good for me. Oh, so here's another good question. If someone is juicing, do they need to only juice organic produce?
Oh, you know how I feel about organic produce. I am a promoter of organic produce. I run a co-op in Houston called Rawfully Organic, and I try to always use organic when juicing because it's like you're extracting everything that goes into that liquid. Your body is absorbing everything, and if there's pesticides in there, your body is going to be consuming that as well. So if you can't afford all organic, I say definitely follow the Dirty Dozen rule if you can. And for those of you who don't know what it is, you can Google it, but it'll show you the top 12 most contaminated fruits and vegetables or highly sprayed things that you can buy that will help you. Greens, definitely always get those organic. Anything with a skin, like apples, try and get those organic. Not only that, but there's so much more nutrition in organic fruits and vegetables than conventional. It's said that, per every 1 organic orange, it has the same amount of nutrients as 7 conventional oranges. So even if you think that it's more expensive, you are actually getting more for your money, and you won't have to eat as much, and it will waste less. So
again, I'm going to agree. And one of us is going to disagree here on this video eventually. But man, I'm all about organic too, but not necessarily to that question, because what I can do is I can go to the farmers in the Bay Area, and Sophia's dad, runs the co-op. So I'll talk to the farmers, and I'll say, hey, are these sprayed? And they'll say no, because the thing is a lot of times they'll have to pay about $5,000 a year to get organic certified, and they'd have to raise the price of their fruits and vegetables, and they sell it all out anyways, so there's no point for them to spend $5,000 a year for a certification. So I'll ask the farmers, hey, do you spray this? No, I don't spray this. I feed this to my own family. So it's not certified organic, but it is organically grown in nutrient-rich soil on a family farm that they've been doing for generations, food that they eat. So they're not going to kill themselves. But in the store, I really won't. If I can't check with the farmer, I really won't buy non-organic lettuce or non-organic celery for the reasons that Kristina spoke of. The nutrient density is less, and the pesticides are, nerve gases left over from World War II, and so you don't really want that floating around in your bloodstream, So organic when you can, and just think abundantly. I mean, I like to get to the underlying message. It's like, you're worth it. Your body is worth it. It's a temple. And if you make that a priority, the universe will say, oh, this person's got high priorities, high ideals. Let's give them more money. It just works that way,
I mean, once again, I'm going to have to agree. I mean, I think it's very important to juice.
You're so agreeable.
No, I mean, that's what I do. I mean, I eat a 90 to 95% organic diet, maybe even 95+% organic. And it's very important to me because, I want and encourage people to vote with their dollars when you are able to, because if you keep buying, conventional foods, you're voting for people spraying pesticides and using, fertilizers that run off and that pollute the environment. And this is just not a good system. And so I understand there's many of you guys out there that can't afford organic. Some places in the country, it gets quite expensive. I mean, the Bay Area is pretty good, and Kristina has her own co-op. Yeah. And, I drive 4 hours, once a month to get organic foods so I could, have them and juice them besides growing my own garden. So if you can afford it, definitely get it. But I would also say this, and you guys would probably agree, I'm not exactly sure, but it's definitely better to juice conventional produce than eat, processed conventional foods, because conventional produce still has lots of nutrition in there. Even if there are some bad things, it's gonna be a lot better than, fast foods and junk foods and coffees, teas and sodas, right? So don't get all crazy. I can't juice organic, so I'm not going to juice it all. There still can be benefits, and like Kristina said, stick with the Dirty Dozen list. And if you want to make it cheaper and less expensive, I encourage you guys to grow your own food. In my opinion, even the organic farming system is broken. As much as I like to buy a lot of organic foods myself, I've realized that you could always do a better job yourself by growing your own food, have higher nutrition and better tasting food, and especially when juicing greens, because greens are one of the most expensive things to buy because you use a lot of them when you're juicing. They're super simple, super easy, and one of the easiest things to grow, and you guys could definitely do that if you want to. I teach how to grow food. If you're interested, you can check me out at growingyourgreens.com on my YouTube channel. Most subscribed and watched gardening YouTube channel online. All right, so next question is, this is good for you, Kristina. Can you use a blender to juice, and is it the same thing?
I've tried it. It's not the same thing. It is possible if you have a strainer or an almond strainer bag. Then again, it depends on what you're juicing. Like if I do watermelon, I can blend watermelon up in my blender and then strain it, and I have watermelon juice. But if I want to make like a carrot, romaine, celery juice, that's going to get messy. It's going to be very pulpy, and it's very difficult to even like squeeze it out of something like an almond bag. You just won't yield the same amount of juice. You're going to end up having more waste, more compost. A good question that people ask me is, can I buy a cheap juicer or should I invest in a really expensive one? And my reply is usually I say wait and save up for one that you know is good, because typically they last longer and they will give you more bang for your buck. They will yield more juice from your compost. I know some of these cheap juicers, you'll have like a whole bucket of compost or the pulp, what that's left over, and you can touch it and it feels moist and soft, and sometimes you can squeeze it and juice comes out of it. But if you have a really, really, really good juicer, the pulp will be so dry, no juice is left. And in the long run, you're gonna end up saving more money on fruits and vegetables than you would if you had a cheap juicer, because you're gonna end up buying more produce over and over again with a cheap juicer, and then once that thing breaks down, you're gonna have to buy another juicer anyways. So invest in a good juicer if you can. It'll save you money on produce and on eventually another juicer. So
So what do you think, Dan?
I would say, just use the blender, because I know with the nut milk bag and all that, like watermelon juice or whatever, but it's just a lot of work and it's gonna really turn you off. And it might be better just to eat the whole foods for now and save up and get a juicer until you can get on the juicing therapy. It's never been very efficient for me at all to do it that way. I would rather just have the smoothie or eat the whole foods, because simplicity is what this is about. Get your meal out of the way and get on to living. And if you're taking like an hour to like squeeze carrots and cucumbers through that bag, I just never found a good way to make it work. So I would recommend, just save up and manifest yourself a really good juicer. Like the Omega is a really good one for $269. Even the Breville, centrifugal is easier for most people in the beginning. You're not gonna do well with the herbs on that. But when people start out, all they really need is carrot, apple, ginger. Just get the process started, start waking things up and get your brain turned on and start displacing those meals with juice and get yourself activated. And then as that becomes a daily juicing habit, you'll want to invest in something better. You'll have the motivation to do that. So it's not my favorite thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I believe a blender is a really poor appliance choice to make juice because it keeps the fiber, then you have to strain it out. And it's definitely not the same thing. I mean, many people don't realize about the blenders that they spin, especially high-speed blenders, they spin very fast and they tend to oxidize, whatever you put in there a lot more than a slower juicer. I mean, just a couple of days ago here at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, I gave a demo on blending and juicing and the differences. And what I did is I took watermelon, put it in the Vitamix, blended it on up into a watermelon juice with the fiber, poured that out, sampled it to people, everybody got to try it. They're like, okay, this is good, And then the next thing I did is I took a high-speed juicer like the Breville that runs at 11,000 RPMs. I put the watermelon through there, and they got to try that, and they're like, yeah, that's good. And then I put the watermelon through a slow RPM Omega Vert juicer that runs at 80 RPMs, put the watermelon through there, took out the fiber. It made it nice and rich and dark colored. I mean, it's evident the nutrition in there by just looking at it. They tasted that and they're like, wow, this is really great. And then I asked everybody, okay, hold up your hands if you like the blended, watermelon juice. Nobody. Hold up your hands if you like the high-speed watermelon juice. Nobody. Hold up your hands if you like the low-speed watermelon juice. Everybody. So what does this tell you? It just tastes better, and it's worth, while to save up to get the proper tool for the right job. I mean, this is something my grandfather told me, when I was actually just a little young one. All right, Kristina, so what are your thoughts on juice fasting?
I've done a 42-day-long juice feast before, and I call it a feast because I'm not starving myself. I'm actually feasting on juices. And I think that when at the appropriate time and place, and when your body needs it, and you'll know when that is, and you have to be ready for it, I think that it can be a really great thing. And you don't necessarily have to go for 40 days. Sometimes it can be just a 3-day reset cleanse, something as simple as that. But I think that they can be great. I want to promote eating more fruits and vegetables always, but there can be a time and place for juice feasting. So I do recommend it if perhaps you are desperately ill and you need to have some very quick healing. Or maybe perhaps it's a spiritual or emotional cleanse where you just need to be very light. Or maybe perhaps your body's traumatized from something and you just need to cleanse. I mean, there's so many different reasons, but I find that juice feasting can help with so many things across the board.
Dan?
I'm a big fan of juice feasting because I work more in the arts of healing. I'm definitely a fruit and vegetable promoter. I know where you're coming from for sure. But when I'm dealing with people that are, in every kind of disease condition you can imagine, taking the load off the digestion and hydrating and mineralizing and flushing the body and letting all the organs of digestion rest, and really giving the nervous system a break too, because you got to think, your stomach 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's a lot of nerve energy. And when you drink the juice, it's a lot less energy to absorb. It does, I know, orange juice takes a while to digest, but when you're going 24/7 365, that's a lot of nerve energy that could be utilized. And when it's not around the stomach, it'll go up around the heart, or it'll go to the organs that are suffering, and that nerve energy can be used for a better purpose of healing. And so in the sense of healing, the therapeutics of juicing is unsurpassed. The miracle of juicing for the people in this world that have stiffness, pain, diabetes, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, obesity, headaches, you name it, liver disease, kidney disease, just letting everything rest while still, because I know the world ain't gonna stop spinning, and your boss doesn't really care that much about your liver. You know what I mean? Maybe he cares a little bit, but you still got to show up to work to get your paycheck, to get the gas in the car, to get the kids to the soccer practice. So juicing is a way of, the sugars feed your brain, and you're shopping and you're preparing food, and that's so you don't get so much. It's not like a water fast where the whole thing stops and you have to deal with so much new stuff. With the juicing, it allows you to fast and to give yourself a break without going without food and going without stimulation for your, it's basically the lightest, most simple form of chemical stimulation for the body. So that's I'm a huge fan of juicing every day.
All right, so yeah, on my opinions on the juice fasting, or more appropriately called juice feasting, is I believe it can be beneficial if used appropriately. I've also seen people do a juice fast because, oh yeah, juicing's so good for me, I'm gonna do this, and now I've been good for a week because I juice fast. Then they go out and eat McDonald's and eat, junk foods and crap, and that's not my opinion of a healthy juice fast, by ping-ponging back and forth. I'm doing really good, and then you do really bad, and then, now I've been naughty and I've eaten McDonald's, now I need to juice fast again, and that's just not healthy. It'd be much more prudent, in my opinion, to include some juice on a regular basis in your diet, instead of breakfast, for example, and this will ensure that you're getting some fruits and vegetables in you in the form of juice. And even if you're eating some things that aren't so good for you, instead of ping-ponging back and forth. Now, of course, if you're gonna use juice fasting or juice feasting, such as Kristina, talked about, as like a reset, which is an excellent way to get a reset, to basically, you gotta reboot that computer sometimes when it gets cranked up and starts working really slow. I think that can be an excellent, use of a juice fast or juice feast, if you, get out of your old habits and, incorporate new ones, like including more fruits and vegetables in your diet after the feast. All right, so Kristina, the next question is, what's the best way to start adding fresh juices into a person's diet?
I would say the easiest meal of the day is breakfast, because you're already up, you're making a juice, you can clear it out, and then you have something to bring with you on the go in the morning. And if you want to make it the night before, I know that juice oxidizes, but it's still a much better choice than stopping to a fast food store and picking up an Egg McMuffin. So I think that the easiest time is either breakfast or lunch, for sure.
Dan?
Oh, definitely start the day with the juice, for sure. Lemon ginger blast or some orange juice, straight away,
Yeah, I'd agree once again, when we wake up after we've been sleeping, it's called breakfast because we're breaking our fast of not eating for the last, hopefully, 8 hours if you're sleeping 8 hours. And, I like to wake up and then just drink water first, and then maybe, wait a couple hours until I start feeling hungry, and then feed that hunger with some fresh fruits or some juice or a smoothie or whatever I'm eating that day. And so I think, definitely juicing in the morning. And when I got starting onto my, into juicing, I basically just simply replaced my breakfast, which most people's breakfasts, in my opinion, are not super healthy, and it's a really good meal to replace, with fresh juices. And then in the afternoon, I'd have basically an afternoon juice as well, and have my normal lunch and my normal dinner, right when I got into this. For Kristina, do you juice both fruits and vegetables, and do you favor one over the other?
I juice both fruits and vegetables, and if I'm making for other people, I typically lean more towards fruit or sweeter juices because it really turns on that person, especially if they're new to juicing, and it tastes sweeter, it's better. But if I'm drinking it for myself, sometimes straight green juice with lemon and ginger is straight up awesome.
And what would you say, Dan?
Well, I don't necessarily favor one over the other in the modern world. If the fruit that we had access to was grown on better soil, ripened to the end, locally accessed, more wild, and had more of the minerals necessary that are the building blocks to all the hormones and neurotransmitters and whatnot that keep us healthy and happy and alive. But the fruit these days isn't the most high quality, so then we go over and we look to the plant kingdom that tends to concentrate those minerals a little bit more. The fruit is much more cleansing, obviously, and the herbs are much more grounding and more mineral dense. And there's places in the world where the fruit is really, really mineral dense, because the more minerals are in the soil, they can be absorbed into the fruit. So I like to keep a good balance of fruits and leafy greens. I used to juice a lot more vegetables, but as I've progressed, I eat less of the root vegetables. I find them to be very, they're much more elemental, more earthy matter. And the more clean you get, the more energy you want to have, the lighter the food. So I am leaning more towards fruit juices now, but I don't necessarily recommend that for everyone. I think that there should be a nice balance of fruits and vegetables in juicing and in the diet. And then when your instinctive intuition takes over and tells you to, what I'll do is generally drink more fruit juices, and I consider the cucumber a fruit as well. And that cucumber brings the balance to the orange juice for me. And then I'll tend to eat my herbs as like a party time. For me, a salad is a celebration of life and a real way to love myself, So I like to chew on the greens, and I feel that's beneficial for my teeth. And so I juice more fruits, and then I eat the herbs right now.
Cool. I mean, I would say I juice both fruits and vegetables. I'll juice whatever I got, and that's whatever's ripe. But in general, I like to favor more, for me personally, the vegetables. I mean, per capita kale consumption in the US, I think, is like a 1/4 pound per person, not per day, but per year, which is really sad. And I might, Kristina will easily juice more than that in one juice with 5 bunches of kale or whatnot. And so I think really I try to focus on the leafy greens, because especially if you're not chewing things up, really well, like Dan is, like into a mush, you're not going to get optimal digestion and absorption. And according to people like Dr. Joel Fuhrman, kale, collard greens, watercress, things like this are some of the highest, most nutrient dense foods on the planet, which, most Americans are not getting into them. Most people don't have a problem eating fruits because they taste so good. So I don't think juicing fruits is necessarily necessary, in most cases, but definitely juicing the leafy greens and some of the vegetables like the cucumbers and celery. One of my favorite juices is cucumber, celery, and a bunch of leafy greens. And I don't even bother with doing any apples in there to make it sweeter these days, because I just love my green juices. All right, so good question for Kristina. Do you recommend storing juices, and if so, what is the maximum time they should be stored?
I try to always drink my juices as straight as I make them, and like right then and there, because juices do oxidize, which means that like every minute, every hour that you leave it out, it's going to be diminishing in not only taste but in nutrient value. And so you have to kind of do a toss-up. That's why I always say juice and drink right on the spot whenever you can. However, let's say you have a meeting in the morning and you want to be ready to roll out the door. It's okay to make the juice the night before and drink it in the morning on your way to work. It is a much better option than making a pancake and eating it on your way to work. And it's just so energizing. I tell people, don't beat yourself up as much about that as you can. We live in an imperfect world, and the fact that you're trying means a lot. So give yourself credit for that. So that'd be my answer.
All right. Dan?
I do store juices, because what I'll do personally is I'll go to the hot springs up at Harbin or whatever, and I'll take my little cooler, and I recommend everyone get a little igloo or a little cooler. And, a lot of times I'll buy the OJ from Whole Foods. I'll make it with their cool machine, and I'll put that on ice, but I'll make the cucumber juice at home. Maybe I'll make a lemon ginger blast at home, and I'll put those in the mason jars, and I'll just put them in the cooler. And they'll probably be gone that day, but they might last the next day. And so I recommend even to people, if it's going to save your life, you know what I mean? A juice that's 72 hours old, which is the absolute maximum for me, which is 3 days, but a juice that's 72 hours old that is freshly pressed at home in a slow juicer is way better than Odwalla.
Yep.
Or it's still got the living water. It's still got some bioactivity. Obviously, juicing and drinking right away is the best. But if you preserve it with a little bit of lemon or lime juice, that citric acid will help to preserve it and keep it from oxidizing. And then, in your little cooler with your little ice blocks, I'll drink a lemon ginger blast that's 3 days old. I ain't tripping. It's better than, anything else. I just don't do anything pasteurized or cooked, because it's just, there's no point to that, in my opinion, at all.
Yeah, I actually don't recommend storing juices unless absolutely necessary. Much like Kristina, 99% of the juices I make, I drink right then and there. If I'm traveling, and I can't drink juice because whatever reason, I bring my juicer and juice in the hotel room. If I did have to go to work, I'd have a juicer at work so I could juice on my break to drink it as fresh as possible. I mean, that's something that's very important to me, is to have the most vital food as possible. And on the same token, I'll go out to my backyard and pick the foods from my garden 2 minutes before it goes to the juicer, 2 minutes before it goes into me. And then I don't even clean the juicer. I, drink the juice and then clean the juicer to drink it as soon as possible. Now, I know many of you guys may not be able to do this, and I would also agree with Kristina and Dan that it's much better by far to store your juices and drink it later than to, drink a coffee, tea, Coke, Odwalla, pasteurized and bottled juices, because you always want to do the best you can. I mean, I always recommend good, better, best. I always try to do the best for me personally, and I've set up my life so that I could do that. And I know many of you guys have to have a job and do all this kind of stuff. So yeah, if I was going to store my juice, I personally don't like to store my juices over 24 hours. Many of the juicer companies, with the slow juicers specifically, say you can store your juices for up to 3 days. And there are some techniques you can use to ensure you're going to have the highest quality juice. One of the ways, like Dan mentioned, is to put it in a mason jar with some lemon juice and fill it up to the brim, like overflowing, so that there's no airspace in there. Another really quick and simple way you could do is if you go down to like a Target or a Walmart, they have these wine savers that suck the air out of the wine bottle to keep the flavor of the wine. Well, I use these with basically glass spring water bottles, and I'll put the plugs in there and I'll suck out all the air with my juice so that, it keeps the juice longer. And yes, the flavor can change over time as well as the nutrition go down, and I don't want to mess around with that myself. So let's see. So Kristina, what is your favorite produce to juice?
Oh, really? That question's impossible. I can't answer that.
All right.
Okay, so I love juicing grapes with kale. I love juicing greens with lemon and ginger. I love juicing watermelon. I love juicing apples, lemons, and kale. I mean, gosh, I just, no. I can't answer that question.
Dan?
I mean, for me, it's just, it comes and goes, but right now, I've been literally, like, half my calories have been from orange juice over the last year. I just drink orange juice every day. Some days I'll drink 2 64-ounce things of orange juice and have a salad. So oranges and then cucumbers. I mean, those are my two right now, but then again, I've gone through the phase of everything. I'll go soon enough, I can feel it coming on. I'm gonna go through a lemon ginger blast phase where I take the apple and the celery and the cucumber, the lemon and the kale and the arugula and the dandelion and the lemon and the ginger. And that's just the ultimate right there. That the lemon ginger blast is the ultimate, but it's just oranges and cucumbers for now, but it's all so good. I love, especially the fruits. I appreciate what you're saying about the greens and that type of thing. I mean, it's such a great video here to educate people, for sure. It's just my own personal thing is, I've been doing this a long time. I don't really need to eat that much because I'm absorbing everything so well. My stress levels are low, and I don't pound the pavement like I used to, so I don't need a lot of alkalinity. I'm just getting kind of into that really zen place. So yeah, it's just juice.
Cool. So my favorite produce to juice at this time right now, and it always is changing depending on the season or whatnot, what's available, but cactus fruits, cactus pears, also called tunas. Oh, it's heavenly. Oh my God, I can't. I mean, if you've ever bought a tuna or cactus fruit, like you cut it open and yeah, you could eat those guys, but they're full of seeds and the seeds are a pain to deal with. You could swallow the seeds, you could chew them up, but it's just not fun. But when I put it through the slow vertical juicer, it makes a delicious juice. Like I like to use 2 green cactus fruits to 1 red. And to me, that tastes like fruit punch when I was a kid. It just sends me into the outer space, literally. And it's so good because it removes all the seeds and it just gives me the fresh goodness that I know many of you guys may not even be including cactus fruits. And cactus fruits are a very nutritious fruit. I mean, they have so many cool properties in there. They're slightly mucilaginous. There's different phytochemicals and phytonutrients, and they have a lot of different research on that. Instead of buying a bottled and packaged and pasteurized cactus fruit juice that MLM companies are trying to sell you, just make it fresh. All right, so with that, Kristina, we'll get into what is your favorite juice recipe?
Oh, again, here we go. I would have to say my Soul Shine juice, which is apple, lemon, cucumber, kale, romaine, celery, spinach. But it's like a sweet green juice. Yeah, I love that one.
Dan?
I'm gonna give 2 today. 'Cause
All
I
right.
have 2 of my favorites. There's the mean green, and that is cucumber, celery, cilantro, kale, dill, and lemon. That's a low sugar, low glycemic. The dill is actually one of the top herbs to dissolve mucus in the body. And then all those other ones are just minerals, and then you got the benefits of the cilantro and the beautifying properties of the cucumber. That's an amazing juice drink. It's like a soup, but it's just like but then you've got the lemon ginger blast, which is pretty much the ultimate. It's just got the sweetness of the apple, the cucumber, the celery, arugula, dandelion, lemon, ginger, fresh turmeric, and then if you got it in you, you drop in a habanero or 2, and that really just activates everything, and that makes it just an amazing all-around body tonic, freshener, energizer, purifier, detoxifier, regenerator.
I need some of that right now.
We don't have any apples here.
All right, so my favorite juice recipe, I don't have any recipes like Kristina or Dan shared, but my favorite juice recipe is to juice what's out in my garden and fresh and ripe and ready to eat at that time. I mean, I try to like seek out like not any particular recipe and like go to the store to buy these different ingredients, but I just go into my garden and see I have cucumbers now, I have celery now, and I have greens now. I mean, that could just be a very simple and easy juice for me. And I mean, just 3 simple ingredients. But my favorite is just the freshest, highest quality ingredients that I could get that I grew myself, because I know, I mean, there's simply nothing better. And I want to encourage you guys out there to, to juice what you got. You don't always have to make one of these recipes that Kristina and Dan share with you. You could juice whatever you got, whatever's on sale at the grocery store this week that's organic, right? There's an influx, they put it on sale. So celery's on sale this week. Buy a ton of celery, make a lot of celery-based juices, and experiment and have fun in your kitchen, because every different produce item, whether it's arugula, kale, collard greens, dandelion greens, juicing romaine lettuce hearts, they all have different levels of nutrition, and I always want to encourage you guys to rotate what you're juicing to get a wide spectrum to flood your body with all these nutrients that we're talking about. So Kristina, many types of juicers are not all created equal. What's your number 1 favorite juicer at this time?
So I have 2. They're basically the same. One would be the Omega Vert 350, which is a slow juicer. And another would be the Kuvings juicer, which is the exact same base, except for the spout is much larger. So you could stick in a whole cucumber, a whole apple. You wouldn't necessarily need to cut everything up, but it's still a slow juicer, and both yield the same delicious, nutritious results.
Yeah, that's the Kuvings whole slow juicer is the one she's talking about. That's the name on that, because Kuvings makes a bunch of different ones. So Dan, what do you say?
It just depends. I own most of them. I do need to get a hold of Chang and get one of those Kuvings though, because if I hear 2 good things from both of you, I'm definitely gonna have to look into that. But at home I'll have the Green Star on the counter, and that's a really nice one to have for so many different types of juices. And then of course the Breville Juice Fountain Elite, just zing, carrot, apple, ginger. Here for my daughter, boom, my ex-wife, whatever, somebody around, or Sophia wants something real quick, or the people are over at the house. But for me personally, the one that I use the most is the Omega 8006. Now there's a new one, right, with the little bit bigger mouth.
The Omega NC 800.
If they're watching this, Omega, send me one of those. But the Omega, I've used it. My friend had one. But I carry the Omega. I find it to be, for the price, for the ease of use, for the ease of cleaning, for the extraction levels, and for the usability, durability, I mean, I just juiced enough for 20 people. It took me about an hour, but I used just the Omega, and it just kept going and going. So I take the Omega with me because I travel a lot. Throw it in the back of my truck. You know, the Green Star's a bit heavier, and then I bring the Omega, and I bring the Juice Fountain Plus with me, a little smaller, carrot, apple, ginger, you know. So the Omega's kind of my thing right now, even though that's hopefully not too many people see this, because I got a lot of people that I'm still working with right now and figuring out who I might represent. You know?
Cool.
So I love them all. I love Green Star Omega.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say a number one favorite juicer. I can tell you this, I have a number one favorite juicer for each specific produce type.
Oh boy.
Oh lordy.
Yeah, I won't go through all of them right now, but
Turned on.
but I will say for my favorite cactus fruit juice, my favorite juicer by far is the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer. And in general, I favor the vertical juicers, you know, that Kristina talked about. They're a lot easier to use and they're more versatile in general than the 8006 or horizontal style machines. My other favorite one right now is actually the Omega VSJ 843. So it's actually the new model of the VRT 350. So I find it actually makes less pulp. It's a little bit easier to clean and it's more efficient in my test at this time. So let's see here. Oh, so Kristina, any final thoughts on this whole topic about juicing and encouraging people to eat more fruits and vegetables through, you know, juicing?
I know it's scary to try it because you're like, oh my God, I got this machine. I don't know what to do. Is it gonna taste good? Honestly, start simple and just try it. Like the worst that you could do is make a bad tasting juice, of which drink it. It'll still be nutritious for you. And then maybe next time you'll be like, maybe I'll add more apple or maybe I'll add more carrot. But the second that you find like 1 to 2 good recipes that you like or 2 to 3 good combinations, I promise you're gonna end up using those and drinking those over and over again until like you love them so much, and then you'll start branching out more. But you have to just start somewhere. Don't be afraid, just even maybe start with just carrots or just oranges and then start combining from there. But I promise you will feel the benefits, you will love it, you will just try it. Just try it.
Dan?
Yeah, man. What I've seen from juicing is probably, you know, working in the healing arts and specifically promoting juicing all these years. There's the story that had changed my life forever. This lady couldn't walk for 3 years or get out of bed, so she had her caretaker start making her juice. 3 weeks later, she's out dancing. You know what I mean? On just by drinking juice every day. It just brought something to life that was asleep in this person that just couldn't. It wasn't awake, and when she started drinking juice every day, it just woke it up and she's out living again. It just brought life to her body. I think it's the fastest, tastiest way to saturate your body, give it what it needs to make up for the deficiencies and knock out a meal or two so that you're not having the excesses. Most people eat too much of the wrong food that is devoid of the nutrients that the body truly needs to be activated and fully alive. So drinking the juice every day is just something that that's just what I do. I mean, I start every day, 6 days a week at least. If I'm traveling or there's an airport, you know, and I have to have a banana, then that's what it is. But for the most part, if there is a juicer or a juice bar around, I won't start my day. I don't want to start my day on a heavy. I want to get the engine flowing here, get the everything lubricated up. And so if you are having any problems with obesity, diabetes, or any host of anything, start hydrating yourself and just start with I always start everyone, carrot, apple, ginger. You know, you can leave the ginger out if you need to, but the carrot, apple, kids, grannies, I've seen people just, you know, this one lady, here's another story, it's amazing. This lady, when we were making juice, me and my buddy, carrot, apple, ginger, here's this old lady, you know, 80 years old, and for 20 years she's been walking around 1 block. Okay, and so we made some juice for her, and then we just gave her a nice, probably 16-ounce glass of juice. And then she comes back maybe an hour later, and comes in and goes, wow, I just walked around 2 blocks and I'm not even breathing hard. So this 80-year-old woman, you know, who's been eating white bread and tuna fish and cereal and everything, all the foods that I don't recommend, and then walking around 1 block, and that being her maximum. You know, she maxes out at 1 block. Well, 1 glass of juice, and she doubles her energy. So that's what I'm talking about, doubling your energy on the very first day that you start this thing out, and then doing it every single day, creating a shift. And then you just drink the juice, and it activates your desire to consume more fresh fruits and vegetables. You don't have to start, okay, I'm going to do this thing 100% and cut everything else out and stress yourself. You just say, you know what, I'm just going to drink the juice, and it'll do its work within you slowly but surely. So don't be afraid. The other thing I recommend is, that's why I do the DVDs, because all the juices that I've done over the last 17 years, they're all DTM certified. They taste good. People will send me these things. Dan, I made this great thing. Asparagus, grapes, lemon, orange, lettuce, Chinese broccoli, Jerusalem artichoke hearts, and I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't want to drink that. So you want to avoid that. You want to start real simple. Find one that really works well, because otherwise you'll be drinking things that taste like lawn. Like you'll have one cucumber and 6 bunches of kale. You'll be like trying to drink back swamp water. So get educated, get on YouTube, get some nice, crisp, fresh, easily drinkable, so that you don't turn yourself off, and then you'll get into the daily juicing habit. Wow. Something that tastes good. Make sure it tastes good first. Then you can start the more medicinal stuff with watercress and things like that,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree. I think my final thoughts are, juicing is basically a catalyst to kind of get you to feel better, get you healthier, and get you to want and desire more fresh fruits and vegetables, in my opinion. I mean, I've seen so many people get juicers and literally turn their lives around. They'll email me weeks later, John, thanks to you, I've lost 20 pounds, because I got the juicer, and I'm doing, the juicing and all this kind of stuff, and I'm eating healthier too. And you start feeling good, and you kind of get your foot in the door. I think the biggest thing is to just start. I know many of you guys have never juiced before, don't know about juicers. I have a full YouTube channel dedicated to teaching about juicing and teaching you guys the different juicers out there, so you guys could pick the best one. It's discountjuicers.com or youtube.com/raw foods. I'll put a link down below so you guys could check that out. And the other thing I want to mention is, it's very important to make good, delicious tasting juices. I mean, this is critically important, because if you make things that taste like, the grass that's been recently cut, or some other stuff, using everything but the kitchen sink, everything that's left over in your fridge to make a juice. I mean, I've drinking plenty of juices made with expensive organic produce that I've had to plug my nose and just drink it down, because, man, it's like $5 worth of produce in there, and I don't want to waste it. I don't want that to happen to you guys, so some of my quick recommendations for you guys is, try to make juices with less than 5 ingredients. Less is more, is what I like to say. When you start adding too many things, it can get really unbalanced really fast and start tasting real gross. Start out by juicing just a few of those at a time. I mean, you may not be able to handle 5 bunches of kale in one juice like Kristina can. So start out with 2 cucumbers and 1 leaf of kale. Everybody should be able to do that, right? And then maybe add, 2 leaves. I could do 2 leaves. That doesn't taste too bad. And maybe you'll get up to 6 leaves and whoa, that starts tasting kind of weird. So back it down to 5 leaves and do that for a week. And then keep that up for a week, and then maybe next week do 6 leaves. And I'm used to the 5 leaves, and I could do 6 leaves. And then you could slowly build up, as time goes on, so you can get more of the fresh fruits and especially the leafy greens in you. So the final thing I'd like to ask each of my friends here is, how can somebody learn more about you, Kristina? I know you have a ton of videos online. Many of them have juice recipes and also healthy eating tips to encourage and promote eating more fruits and vegetables.
The easiest place to find me is on my website, fullyraw.com, and from there you can connect to my YouTube channel or my Facebook or Instagram. Every single week I post 1 to 2 videos, whether it be an informational or a recipe, and I always post pictures of what I'm eating to give people an idea of what they can do to make raw foods or juices in their home as well.
Dan?
regenerateyourlife.org is my website, where you can access, I think that I have about 5 or 6 DVDs on juicing alone, and so you can check that out, regenerateyourlife.org. And then I've got the YouTube channel, and that is life-regenerator.com, or just Google the Life Regenerator and I will definitely come up. And come and say hi, And thank you very much, John and Kristina. This has been so epic. You guys are the real deal here. So I am in good company, and I appreciate it. I actually learned a lot today, and how we can continue to help people. So thanks for having me on, John. And thanks everyone for connecting.
Yeah, thanks for viewing out there. Hope this really helped you guys out. We're going to get back to having some fun here at the 2014 Woodstock Fruit Festival, and maybe I'm going to try to get a lemon ginger blast up in the kitchen because I'm so thirsty for juice after this talk with you guys, and hopefully you are too. You're going to get a juicer. Start juicing today to change your life for the better tomorrow. Once again, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best. All right, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you coming in HD. We're here at the